What's really good, folks? It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be mine? Chilling at your local neighborhood Buffalo Wild Wings. Yeah, go out there and get some chicken or something like that, man. Man. Maybe not. Maybe you don't want to get out right now. But I'm sure you want to get out on July 31st. Music City Brewers Fest going down right here in Nashville. If you need tickets, if you want tickets, I got your way to get in. I got you. Just make sure you go to musiccitybrewersfest.com, and then what you'll do is when you try to order your tickets, you'll put in the promo code, you'll put in SSP, capital SSP. That, of course, stands for Surround Sound Podcast, and we'll get you a nice little sizable discount, you know what I mean? But yeah, man, come on out to the Music City Brewers Fest. It's going to be really, really dope. Gonna have brews, gonna have food, cigars, everything. On today, we got Jeff Hem. He's gonna be coming on in just a second. He's gonna hang out with us, gonna talk a little baseball, and I'm gonna also try to get his pick for the finals tonight. And I got another special question for him as well. What else, man? Nashville Sounds. Yeah, Jeff Hem, the voice of the Nashville Sounds. Yeah, we see you, Jeff, so we just going to go ahead and bring you on in baseball real quick. Jeff, you there, bro? What up, Jeff?
What's going on, RJ?
Hey, not too much, man. For everybody that listens to Jeff and, doesn't know how he looks in real life, Jeff is like the tallest human ever. Dude, I forgot you was that tall, man. So since you're that tall, this is what's gonna happen. You are now my first baseman in my all baseball team. Okay,
that's the position I used to play. That and pitcher, so that works out.
So Mark Grace and Frank Frank Thomas, they will now be platooning at DH and right field or something.
Yeah. Those were my two guys growing up in Illinois. It was the Big Hurt and it was Mark Grace. I mean, it was. You got me at the right spot in the lineup. I'll take that.
Okay, man. Hey, the Sounds are doing really well, man. 40-25. As you can see, I'm rocking my Sounds hat. 40-25. We're a couple of games behind the Durham Bulls. What do we see for the rest of the season, man?
Well, this is always an interesting time of year because the MLB trade deadline is coming up. And AAA teams are always affected in one way or another, but it becomes especially interesting when you are the AAA team for a parent club that is in first place, like the Brewers are right now. Taking on the Reds today, they've got a 7.5 game lead. And so it's probably a situation where the Brewers, you would think, would be trying to add some pieces over the next week or so. And sometimes that means guys off of your roster get dealt. We had that happen a couple of weeks ago. One of our solid starting rotation members, Bowden Francis, was in a deal that the Brewers acquired a guy from Toronto, and Bowden went to the Blue Jays to help make that deal happen. So not to say that we're going to have a ton of guys get traded, but this is always an interesting time of year. We're also at about the mathematical midway point of our season, where coming off a year where there was no season last year, you get into a really interesting scenario here where these guys have maybe a massive number of at-bats compared to what they had last year. Maybe they had 0 at-bats last year, or maybe they were at the alternate training site last year getting some repetitions but not actually getting game situations. And I think injuries across the board are up around the game this year. I think major league teams expected that to happen because there was no minor league season a year ago. So the calendar is interesting here because we've played a ton of games already. We've got a ton left, and all these MLB teams are trying to figure out, okay, how do we keep these guys as healthy as possible, both for potential big league opportunities, but also just for their own health to keep developing and to finish off a minor league season. So it's always interesting this time of year.
That's one thing I always tell people. When we were a tag team, so to speak, with the Nashville Sounds, they really do play every day. You know,
Yeah.
I really understand that now differently than I've ever understood it. Like, I was just looking at the Sound schedule. You guys are playing the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, which is another story for another day. You know, I thought the baby cakes was bad, but I mean, like every day, boom, 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 and it's really it's really a testament to your mental focus as well as your body's readiness for the game. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I liked the Nashville Sounds a lot more when they were the AAA affiliate of the Oakland A's, but that's a perfect segue into the Chicago Cubs. 46 and 48. I mean, as of June 1st, man, they were in first place, and then we throw like a club. I call it a club no hitter, where a couple of pitchers were involved in a no hitter, and then it's like the bottom falls off, and now we trading Jock Peterson. Any thoughts on if that'll be the norm with because, you know, a lot of pundits are saying that the Cubs are going to, you know, like you said, they got the trade deadline coming up, saying the Cubs are going to trade away the team. What do you think?
I think Jock Peterson will not be the last Chicago Cub to be traded in the last week and a half. You know, it's been interesting. You know my Illinois roots, so I have followed the Cubs and White Sox for years, and now I'm doing Sounds games where we are AAA for the Milwaukee Brewers, and and there are plenty of Reds fans in Middle Tennessee, and now the Sounds are a part of a schedule in this realigned AAA East League. We just got done playing Louisville AAA for the Reds, so and we still play the Memphis Redbirds a lot, AAA for the Cardinals. So I feel like I've got this even tighter look now at the National League Central and a lot of the teams and the names that are involved. And, the Brewers are for real, man. They are for real. And I think the Cubs, who are now, going into the day, 9.5 games out of first. The Cardinals are 8.5 back. I'm not saying the Brewers have it wrapped up with a certainty, but I think teams like the Cubs and Cardinals are having really honest conversations with themselves right now about, all right, where are we at and how realistic is a chance to get back in this divisional race? And the Brewers are not only the owners of a healthy lead, they are also a dangerous team if or when they do get into the postseason, because they have this big three in their starting rotation with Brandon Woodruff, Corbin Burns, and Freddie Peralta. Where in a best of 5 or a best of 7, you do not want to face that kind of rotation. I don't think the Cubs and Cardinals are built that same way. So I think, and the Reds are trying to hang in this division, but they just got swept by the Brewers in Cincinnati last weekend. So again, I'm not saying the Brewers would tell you that they have it wrapped up, but I think, to answer your question about the Cubs, I would not be surprised at this point to see just about anybody dealt off that team. Certainly Chris Bryant's name is out there a lot. I don't think that's necessarily good for the game when star players get traded from teams that you would think financially have the capability to keep those players. I don't necessarily think that's great for the game. You see Mookie Betts get dealt from Boston a couple of years ago, Nashville native. So we'll see what the Cubs do, but they've got some prime pieces that a lot of teams are now asking, hey, can we get that guy? Instead of maybe 2-3 weeks ago, the Cubs were the one calling those teams saying, hey, can we get your guy?
Yeah. That's it's crazy how in a matter of days, in a week, literally 7 days, everything that you thought prior is now different.
Yeah, and that's why I think the Brewers would not tell you, oh, we've got this thing wrapped up, because what happens if they drop 6 in a row and the Reds win 9 out of 10? There is still so. You mentioned the volume of games that the Sounds play. This year it's about the same number as what the big leaguers play. At least the season will end right around October the 1st for us, just like it will at the major league level. There's a ton of time left. I know fans always think that's such a cliche thing to drop in baseball, but it's so true. And, that's why these MLB teams in this week and a half have some big decisions to make, because there's always that hope that, okay, all right, if we rattle off 8 out of 9 and they drop 7 out of 8, we're only, 2.5 back. That's really easy. I would think if I'm in their shoes, that's really easy to believe possible. And so you have to figure out how realistic that is. It's not an easy conversation.
Yeah, and as I'm watching the Cubs, I felt like Javi Baez wants to get traded. He threw a ball to home to try to, get a go-ahead run. He threw it so far away. I was like, dude, you want to leave now. However, Javi and so many of the guys, from their 2016 team, I never want to see him go. But like my papa always told me, everything has a beginning and it has an end.
Yeah.
And speaking of Jock Peterson getting traded, got traded to the Atlanta Braves. The Braves are now 45 and 47. The reason why he gets traded is because Ronald Acuna Jr. tears his ACL. And to go back to something that you mentioned earlier, as far as injuries, how devastating? Because you're a lot closer to baseball than I am. How devastating is that Ronald Acuna Jr. is not playing for them for the rest of the year?
Oh yeah, that's incredibly devastating. You hate it for him. You hate it for the team. He's such an integral piece of that lineup. And I always think of it because baseball is an interesting sport where even Acuna Jr. when he's healthy only gets about 4 or 5 at bats a game. You only get those limited opportunities. Yeah,
I'm so glad you're saying that.
Those limited opportunities to change the game offensively. Now, obviously, defensively, that matters too. But my point is how he fits within a lineup. His spot, his ability in that lineup affects maybe what the guys in front of him see, maybe the types of pitches the guy who was going to bat behind him would see. So it's one player and one injury, but it truly affects the dynamic of that lineup. And you've got to figure out, okay, who replaces that guy, not just in that spot, but then what does that do for the other spots around that part of the lineup? And when you've got as an electrifying guy as Acuna Jr., that's really tough to replace. And then you get a situation like Jock Peterson. Then there's pressure on him to come in and feel like he's got to make up for that, and that's virtually impossible to do.
Oh yeah. That's one thing. When I called them the Baby Braves like 2 years ago, and then I think that same year they got into the playoffs and they made a little bit of noise. They just grew up a lot faster than I thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, talk about generational talent. That guy Ronald Acuna Jr. is that and grows. As we reset real quick, if you want to go to the Music City's Brewers Fest, for anybody that is watching, MusicCityBrewersFest.com. Make sure when you order your tickets, the promo code box is SSP, and you'll get you a nice little discount off of your tickets. Brew, food, fun, cigars, all that stuff. July 31st at Music City Walk of Fame Park. Speaking of teams that are running away with it, Jeff, Chicago White Sox. Now, I thought when La Russa made his comments about the home run when it's late in the game, this, that, and the third, I was like, oh, snap. He's going to lose the team. Now, I don't know if maybe they're that good. I don't know if the AL Central sucks that much. Or if him saying that he still, quote unquote, has the ear of his team. But they still are 57 and 37. And a couple of weeks ago, they had the best record in baseball. It was short lived, but nonetheless. Can the Chicago White Sox win the whole thing?
They can. Yeah, they can. And you went through option A, B, and C. It could be a little bit of all of those. I think Tony La Russa knows how to manage. He knows how to, in my opinion, he knows how to manage a team over the course of a season. I think there are some decisions he makes in game that are not as strategically applicable in today's game as maybe they were when he was in his heyday with the Cardinals.
Cardinals.
And I'm with you. There are certain comments he's made that I'm wondering, okay, what does his clubhouse really think of that? I mean,
I couldn't believe it.
yeah.
I really couldn't believe
So,
it.
there's an argument, there's an argument to be made that they are winning despite their manager in certain ways, because you're right, they do have a ton of talent, and that division is looking fairly average. I mean, everybody thought the Minnesota Twins were going to be a contender, and they are anything but that. The Tigers are actually not a doormat anymore. They've got some respectable players in their lineup and a good manager now in A.J. Hinch. Regardless of what you think about what the Astros did, Hinch as a manager knows what he's doing. And so the Tigers are in the – I'm not saying they're in the mix of that division this year, but they're not a doormat anymore. But, I think the White Sox could win it all. They've got the lineup to do it. And they've got, 2-3 pieces in that starting rotation that you need in a short series or in a best of 7 with Giolito, and the way that Lance Lynn has pitched has been incredible for them this year. So they've got the pieces there, and they've got a lockdown closer in Liam Hendricks, who we had with the Sounds a couple of years ago, and he's now turned out to be one of the best closers in the league. So that's gotten interesting too.
Oh, okay. That noise was brought to you by that semi. Thanks, guys. He's gone now. Okay.
I wonder.
I'm
just glad that wasn't on my end. I couldn't tell.
No. I'm talking about like perfect timing. I'm sorry. I missed what you were saying, but yeah, the White Sox did have a couple of pitchers that were All-Star game representatives.
Yeah, they've got Giolito.
I think they only had like one position player, and I was surprised by that.
Well, I think what's impressive too, and so I said what I said about La Russa, but there is credit to be given to that team and that manager in the sense that they've had a ton of injuries. I mean, they've done this. They're running away with that division without Eloy Jimenez, without Luis Robert. Now Nick Madrigal's out for a while. So it's an interesting situation there. It's a little bit of both arguments can be made about how they've operated through this season as far as some in-game decisions that are interesting, but then also some other areas where you have to give credit where credit's due. And they've had a good farm system for a while, and they're using that. I mean, the Sounds just saw the White Sox AAA Charlotte team a couple of weeks ago. There are some guys helping the White Sox now, Gavin Sheets, Nick Berger, Brian Goodwin, some guys that the White Sox have had to lean on, and they're getting it done. And that's what a good AAA team does.
Yeah, very much so. You talked about Mookie Betts a little earlier. The Dodgers, a couple of games behind San Francisco, who's just been playing out of their mind this first half of the season. So good to see Buster Posey back after he sat out for COVID reasons. Jeff, the Dodgers. I wonder about them sometimes. Like they seem to me to be like, I don't know, like the Indiana Pacers. Hey, how you doing? Seem to me to be like the Indiana Pacers were back in the day with Reggie Miller. Like they're good, and this is coming off a World Series. It's like they're good, but they're never going to get to that. It's something about them. I don't know, that it seems like they're missing something. 58-37 nonetheless. Maybe it's just me. What do you see with the Dodgers?
Well, I see what you're saying, and I think a lot of people felt that way for years and years, and then they finally got it done last year in the World Series, and maybe they feel like they've quieted some of those questions. I mean, they're so loaded. I mean, that lineup is just ridiculous. And the scary thing is, I mean, we saw it with the Sounds for years playing their Oklahoma City team. They always had loaded prospects down at AAA too. They always had more guys coming. So it's that combination of a team at the major league level that has a lot of financial resources to go out and bring in guys, but then they also draft and scout really well. and that leads to amazing depth in their organization. And so I wouldn't count out the Dodgers at all. They just have so much talent that you just think over time they're going to wear down the Giants and they're going to win that division. And that is a Giants team that, like you mentioned, is getting it done. They've got a lot of veterans. You thought maybe their window was going to close a couple of years ago, and here are the Giants right there in the mix.
I can dig it. I can dig it. As we wind this thing on up, I got to ask you, man, the Bears. Justin Fields is our new QB, man. I feel like he's going to take it to the promised land. He's the Moses of quarterbacks right now.
Finally.
And he hasn't played a game.
Finally, maybe.
Yes.
Maybe finally.
For Bears, that's enough.
I know. I'm just hoping that someday we can watch a nationally, well, I guess the NFL, they're all nationally televised, but, whether it's Monday Night Football or Sunday night or whatever, I'm hoping that we can watch the primetime game involving the Bears and not have to see that little video that they love to play of all the different quarterbacks the Bears have had, and they're all the way back to Sid Luckman, and then they're going to put Jay Cutler on the screen and Mitch Trubisky. Like that's my hope. And Justin Fields has the weight of a city on his shoulders right now.
He does.
And
he's saying all the right things, though.
Oh, I know. He is everything. I mean, look, he hasn't played an NFL game yet. I get it. But he looks the part. He acts the part. He says the part. He is from a big-time program. This does not feel like a leap for this pick and for that organization. Maybe, just maybe the Bears got this right, man. I hope they did, because I also am, Andy Dalton seems like a really nice guy. He seems like a really nice guy. He's had some nice moments in his NFL career, but I also hope that I see Justin Field week 1. I don't know if that's going to be the case.
It's like my eyes are sweating. I'm not crying, but my eyes are sweating, dude. Like I'll leave that right there. I won't say anything else. Yeah. But as we leave you, because I know, like you said, you got the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp coming up. That's an away game. But everybody, if you want to go to a Nashville Sounds game, I promise it's a remarkable experience. They got the Charlotte Knights coming up next week. The homestand for that's what 5 to 6 games.
Yeah, we're home. We're on the road this week, but next week we start a nice 2-week homestand. So we got a ton of opportunities for people coming up. We've got Columbus in next week, which is Cleveland's AAA team, and then the following week Toledo, which is AAA for the Tigers. Okay.
So yeah, let's make sure we get out and support Jeff Hammond and Nashville Sounds in that regard. If you've never been to a game, I promise it's an awesome experience. In what's that in left field, we got so many activities in left field over there, from golf to miniature golf to the bandbox and all that. It's a great time for if you want to take somebody on a date or if you want to bring out the whole family. But lastly, Jeff, as we let you go, bro, who wins the NBA Finals? Tall guy. Is it the Bucks tonight in 6? Is it the Bucks in 7? Or is it the Phoenix Suns? Do the Phoenix Suns pull it out in 7? What do you think?
Well, I would expect a good game tonight. I don't think it's I will go Bucks. I'm going Bucks, and I think if they do it, they would probably do it at home. I don't mean that like they get to choose. I just mean it. I feel like if they're going to win it, they're going to win it in part because they've got the home opportunity tonight. And so I would think in normal situations, I'd always root for a 7-game series. But I guess in this case, I'm saying Bucks in 6 because they're at home tonight.
Hey, I'll say this. I did not expect the Bucks to do what they have done so far. But, they are on a roll. They're like butter. They are on a roll.
It's been a great finals, man. I mean, it's 2 smaller market teams, so to speak, which I know people want to, get like that's a negative, but the Suns are really good earlier than people thought, and the Bucks are have had this kind of building now for a couple of years. I think it's been a really entertaining finals.
It really has. It really has. And you know what? I picked I picked the Suns to win in 6. Of course, they can't win in 6 now, so I'm gonna stick with them. I'm gonna stay with them and choose them to win in 7. Hey, everybody that's watching, this guy right here, Jeff Him. Once again, he's my new all-time first baseman. Frank Thomas, get out of there. Mark Grace, hey, be the DH or working right field or something like that. Hey, dude, I appreciate you so much, man. We should do it again. We'll do it again near the end of the season.
That sounds good to me, man. I appreciate you having me on, RJ.
Hey, no problem at all, brother. Talk to you next time. And everybody, hey, make sure you get out for a Nashville Sounds game. They got a homestand coming up here next week. They'll be here for about 2 weeks, so make sure you get out and check out the Nashville Sounds. All right, Jeff, man. Have a good one, brother.
Thanks a lot, bud.
Hey, no problem.